We now move on to the next keynote panel, which we have all been waiting for, Building New India, an era of entrepreneurs. In conversation with veterans and influencers who have made innovation and entrepreneurship a buzzword. Now with huge round of applause, let us all welcome Mr. Narayana Murthy on stage.
We also request Dr. Deshpande, founder and inspiration behind Deshpande Foundation, to also kindly come up on stage. Welcome, sir.
Also, it gives us immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Ramanathan, Mission Director of Atal Innovation Mission, to also kindly come up on the stage. Welcome, sir.
And to moderate this panel, we call upon the founder of Your Story, winner of the NASSCOM Ecosystem Evangelist Award, Ms. Shraddha Sharma. A big round of applause to Ms. Shraddha. Welcome.
So to begin with, I would say that women are equal, if not better. See, I'm sitting with some of the veterans and influencers of this country. So, everything is equal, things are improving, and it's better. And to feel the improvement and how things are better, we all have to experience where we are. And I hope all of you experienced Hubli and the sandbox. I am mesmerized, and hats off to you, because this is New India. And this is the topic that we're going to be discussing. But what you built and what we experience is incredible. I hope you agree with me, right? Like, it's no more Bangalore. and I see so many of us from Bangalore here, so hopefully this becomes the newest, coolest startup destination, and we all come here not just for a day, but spend a lot of time over here. How many of you are from Bangalore over here today? And how many of you are from Hubli itself? Wow, good, good, good mix. And just for understanding the audience, how many of you are startups here? Wow. How many of you plan to start up over here? Wow. Okay, so great company we are in, and very honored to be sitting with, the comparer said veterans. I would say legends, people, icons, and, when I was in college, we grew up hearing about Mr. Murthy, and I'm sure all of us, when it comes to entrepreneurship, someone who's raised the benchmark and taught us, the New India, that what entrepreneurship is, it's Mr. Murthy, and I'll start with him. Sir, you know, I met your wife recently, and let me tell you that she's a firebrand and she's amazing. And one of the things she said, and I would say, is that for any relationship or anything to be successful, there are two, three things which are very important. One, she said, is space that we give to everyone to grow. Like space, she said she cannot tell more like how important space is. And two things, she said that anything is possible if you have courage and if you have perseverance. Then anything is not impossible, and it's possible. So sir, I would like you to tell us, and to all the startups and people who are planning to start, what is it when we all envisage of a new India? What should it be that should be with us when the world is at odds, things are at odds? How do you think that we will be able to achieve our dreams?
Well, thank you, Shraddha. First of all, I must say you must have watched my wife here in 1971, 72. Then you would have redefined your definition of being firebrand. She was truly firebrand.
She is truly a firebrand.
She is,
Yes,
she is.
yes.
But anyway, first of all, thanks to Deshpande Foundation for this opportunity. every time I come to Hubli, I am amazed at the kind of progress that has taken place here. Uh, Desh and his team have contributed immensely to Hubli, what it can be. They have brought tremendous sense of confidence to youngsters assembled here. Desh has been a great role model. As I think it is chapter 7, verse 15 in Bhagavad Gita says, what matters, something wrong with this, what matters is not what you have, but what you do with what you have. This is words of 4,000 years ago. This is not today's words. So I think Desh has given all of us a true example of what Bhagavad Gita said 4,000 years ago. So therefore, the first principle that everybody assembled here has to remember is it's not what we have, but what we do with what we have. Therefore, the corollary of that is we have to stop worrying about what we don't have. Hubli doesn't have this, Hubli doesn't have that. Therefore, we are held back. I think that mindset has to move to Hubli has so many good things, and we will do everything that is necessary, that is possible to make it even better. I think that is the first mindset that we in India have to develop. Like I recounted the story of the Polish author yesterday. Remember that Hubli is going to become even cooler than what it is. Not because somebody in Bangalore ordained that Hubli should be this or that, or somebody in Delhi did. No, that's not the way it happens. The way it happens is because every young man and young woman assembled here, and perhaps many more outside, will say that we will make Hubli number one in India. And that appears like a very daunting task. But let's all remember the Chinese proverb that every long journey starts with the first step. So keep that in mind. Create a mindset that says that every long journey starts with the first step. Second, we have to remember for you people to truly achieve the potential that Hubli has, you have to remember that most of the bottlenecks are in your mind. They're not outside. You know, I once shared a platform with a gentleman in San Francisco, and I came last, so he was sitting at that other end, and I couldn't introduce myself. So, anyway, I was just looking at who he was. He was a person who was totally blind, but he climbed Mount Everest. I have another example of a lady who first met me in 2006. She's a Dutch lady, a Dutch girl at that time. She became blind at the age of 12, totally blind. And at the age of 18, she went to her parents and said, "Look, I want to make the life of blind people in China and in India better." Her parents were somewhat worried, obviously concerned. But then, next week or so, she brought her boyfriend, and then the parents were comfortable and they said, "Okay, go ahead." And she went to China. She started a leadership training course for the blind in Lhasa, Tibet. And after a few years, she came to India and she has started a leadership training program and for the blind people in India and in fact throughout the world. Her name is Sabriye Tinkenberg, and her boyfriend's name is Paul. So the point I am making is this. Most of the constraints that we see for ours are primarily in my mind, in our mind. So therefore, please remember that the major constraint is our mindset. In fact, my friend Raghunath Mashelkar often says that we all fight a battle between our mind, which is the engine of progress, and our mindset, which is the database of dilemmas, fears, doubts, etc., etc. And in the case of most people in the world, it is the mindset that wins over the mind. A few people, like the wonderful entrepreneurs that we have seen here, in their case, the mind has won over the mindset. And these are the people that have gone on to transform Hubli. They will transform the world tomorrow. And therefore, I will stop here because I can go on and on and on. The important thing is, remember that you are the ones who will put Hubli on the world map. You are the ones who will make Hubli even cooler than what it is. And the only constraint you have is in your mind, your mindset.
Mr. Murthy, I wanted to say that you should go on and on and on, which we generally, all of us will agree, we don't say for speakers, we want them to stop, but this is very, very inspiring. So let's give a very enthusiastic and loving applause. Thank you so much. And we are all going to work on our minds, hopefully, in a very solid way. To you, Mr. Deshpande, the less said, the better. But I feel for each one of us here and everyone in this country, you have shown us the way. Today, at least I'm saying for myself, I didn't have a reason to come to Hubli, except that Mr. C.M. Patil came to my office in Bangalore. But the thing was that we are here because of what we are hearing. And we are here, and today we witnessed, and you've built something. And just to tell you, 2 weeks back, I met the Prime Minister of India, and I spent some time with him. And Mr. Modi, he said that for me, startups means not what I see today, but for me, startups means that people, young people, solve for our country. And today you've championed this, made it happen. Tell us, how do we spread that across the country? How will we have more of Hublis in the country? And what got you to do this?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Shraddha. But before I say anything, I have an offer for all the women here. Okay. If you need to train your husbands, send them on an internship to Boston. Jayashri has a pretty rigorous program, and I'm the primary dishwasher in the family. So, I think people, entrepreneurs, get excitement because they have an opportunity to make something better. You look at A and you say, it doesn't have to be B, it doesn't have to be A, it can be B, and B is better than A. So the question is, how much better is B than A is what drives the entrepreneurs. And, when I left 73, probably 80, 90, I think, is when we saw a lot of excitement for entrepreneurship in Canada, US, and I have a lot of friends here from there. And that's because they could see making fantastic differences. But now, in some ways, the problems of the rich are pretty boring. You really can't make that much difference in the lives of the rich. So the action, I think, is going to move to people where you can make the substantial difference by your entrepreneurship. And so I think that's part of the reason why we have so many people from Canada. Are you there? Yeah. So I think people want to make big difference as opposed to incremental little difference. So, making coffee in 33 seconds instead of 35 seconds, yeah, it's better, it's good, but it's not that satisfying. And that's the excitement that you see here.
Okay. Mr. Deshpande, I have one question to ask you, is that, see, there are many people at your, who are as successful as you were as an entrepreneur and the exits that you got, but what you're doing, not many people do. So what got you excited to do and give back?
Well, I don't see this as giving back. Actually, that's not true. I see a lot of people thinking about it, right? And this is no other than starting a company. I saw A, I think it can be B, and B can be a lot better than A. And then how do you get there? So this is as much an entrepreneurial activity, just like building a company. But like Murthy said, you're building a company to change the mindset of the people. And when you change the mindset of the people, it's a change in the culture. It's a painstaking process because I haven't seen a way to come from top down and say, bang, do it. So you have to change 5 and then 50 and 500 and 5,000. At some point, it becomes a critical mass. So to me, that's a very fascinating process. And so trying to figure out how you can codify it, how we can make it a little bit faster. And so we're doing this here. We're doing it in US in a big way. And so that's fascinating. So it's not work. It's just a lot of fun.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Mr. Ramnan, I'm sure you are excited to come here because the role you are in gets you an opportunity to build a lot of the space, the infrastructure that we're seeing here. Tell us what's exciting about being in Hubli, being here, and tell us what are your plans in the coming year.
Thank you, Shraddha. And first of all, I want to thank Dr. Deshpande as well as Dr. Narayan Murthy for setting the stage, as well as giving me an opportunity to interact. And it is a fantastic feeling to be under such luminaries and such legends. I'm the small man here, but still it is a great opportunity to be with them. I'd like to take on two things which Dr. Narayan Murthy said and Dr. Deshpande said. He mentioned about changing the mindset of people and having a mind which can overcome the existing mindset. And that is what Atal Innovation Mission is all about. How do you create a problem-solving, innovative mindset, not only in the young, let's see what we have. He also said, do with what we have. What do we have? We have 1.4 million schools in this country. We have over 10,500 engineering and related institutions in this country. We have more than 150 million students, people who are here and others, who are going to be entering into the workplace in the country. We have a demographic dividend, which is the envy of many a country across the world. 65% of our country is under 35 years old. We have a GDP which is growing among the fastest in the major economies. Now, these are all the positive things that we have. How do we harness 150 million students who are entering into the workplace, their energy, their talent, their capabilities, into a positive force that is going to change the course of this country and change the course of the world? And that is why the Atal Innovation Mission has been set up to create an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the length and breadth of the country, spanning schools, spanning universities, spanning the industry, spanning NGOs, spanning states, districts, and the nation at large. So at the school level, we are launching thousands of tinkering labs. Now, why is this so important? Launching tinkering labs in schools between grade 6 to grade 12. Technology has become affordable, it has become available, and it is making an impact in everything that we see in and around us. So it is very important for our young youth students in schools between grade 6 to grade 12 to get familiar with these technologies, to tinker with them in an atmosphere of fun and learning, in an atmosphere of innovation, to identify problems around them, not some esoteric academic problems that we bring about. Go and watch the world around you, from your school to your house, from the city park that you are visiting. Identify the problems, create a solution using 3D printing, robotics, IoT devices, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality, through do-it-yourself kits. So we are implementing do-it-yourself kits in all the schools. Over 5,441 schools in the country in the last 1 year are being equipped with adult tinkering labs. And 2,500 of them are all operational. And it's creating a fantastic movement of understanding what problems are around. If you go to any tinkering lab today, the student talks about sustainable development goals, which I, as a student, even when I was in IIT, was not talking about it. I was not talking about innovation when I was in IIT. Probably when I came to work, and then later on in the last 10 years, we have been talking about innovation. But today we have students, young students, and there are a couple of them who are here, who are part of the hackathon, from schools. The second thing we are doing is, at the university level, we are setting up hundreds of incubators. And these are designed to be world-class incubators. Why? Because unless you have incubators who can foster, create, and mentor startups, and help them in the life cycles of death, during where there's all valleys of death, that as they call, unless you help them through mentoring, venture capital, hiring support, and connect them in a network, not operate in silos, so that they can benefit from best practices across each other, we will be able to create a pool of resources that everybody can harness, and thereby embolden the spirit of innovation. And as he said, have belief in yourself. The moment a school student or a university student creates a product or creates an innovation, there is a tremendous belief in yourself that surges within you and which helps you to become an entrepreneur or a risk taker later on. And we have seen that, and that is what the Atal Innovation Mission is doing. And the third intervention is we are launching product challenges, so that, take a place like Hubli. If you come here, there are local challenges, local problems. What we ask is to identify that challenge, and anybody who has a product which will create a solution for the challenge, we give them 1 crore of rupees to convert it into a commercially deployable product. So all the entrepreneurs who are here and all the innovators here who are here, you should look out for these Atal New India challenges which are launched periodically, and where along with the ministries, we ensure there is a buyer of your solution. See, often startups don't have a buyer at the end of it, and they create a product or they create an innovation and they're searching for a buyer. And we want to eliminate that. We want to build the buyer first and make sure that your innovation is possible in all of that. So there are a number of things that we are doing to create this ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship, and to create belief in the youngsters that they can do it and they can be part of the job creators of tomorrow. And as he said, and as Swami Vivekananda said, I remember, because I'm a great fan of Swami Vivekananda. He said, if you have a belief in 1,000 gods and goddesses, but do not have belief in yourself, you are doomed. So I think this is exactly what we are trying to do.
Amazing. You know, one question I have to you, Mr. Murthy, to you, Mr. Deshpande, and to you, Mr. Ramnan, is, the question on mindset, belief, and confidence. While we talk about it, I would love to hear very honest input from all of you when you were young. And if you have to look back today, what would you say consistently helped you navigate in your journey? Because many things come with time, many things come with experience, but there are some things which you would have worked hard over the years and you could say that helped, which all of us today can take, get a peek into your own journeys, if you could share with us.
Well, it may be somewhat presumptuous to talk about what is it that we learn to do whatever little we have done. Since you have asked a question, I'll answer. First of all, it's our family, that's parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, our primary school teachers, our secondary school teachers, to a less degree, but certainly, somewhat valuable, who instilled in us values, honesty, decency, good work ethic, creating trust, etc., discipline, all of that. That's the first thing required. The second is, at home we were 8 children, and poor mother was busy from morning 6 a.m. to night probably 8:30, 9 p.m. busy in cooking. Father was always busy outside. So we grew up without too much of interference from parents. They were not all the time saying, don't do this, do this, go for this thing, go for that, go for this dance, go for this, swimming, nothing. Nobody ever bothered about us. Third, we had very tough teachers who time and again helped us or pushed us to exceed ourselves in whatever we were doing in our own orbit. They were encouraging, but their pressure was relentless. They were kind, but always putting a lot of pressure. Their target was always slightly higher than what we achieved. So, it was a constant encouragement. I was also very lucky to have several bosses. In my early years, I used to work in Paris. I had an excellent South African Englishman from whom I taught wonderful work ethics. Extraordinary. Then I had a professor at Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. I learned a lot of stuff from him. So therefore, I would say whatever little we have achieved is the result of a certain kind of culture that was built up by all these people. And one of the aspects of the culture was, don't be afraid. Be bold, but don't be reckless. assess the rewards versus risk. If the rewards are so much better than risk, try and push in that direction. And nothing is ever gained unless you dirty your hands. Always lead by example. Show curiosity in what is happening around you. I think like this, so many things were taught to us by through leadership by example by these people, teachers, bosses, friends, family, all of that. And of course the values. So I would say that's what.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing this with us, Mr.
Ramanan has to catch a flight. So you may want to share your comments. You have a 12:20 flight, right? Yeah.
I think Dr. Murthy covered it all, but I would just say, from my point of view, or very important for every one of us, what is very, very important is we have great mentors. And mentorship, it comes from everywhere. It comes from all sources. It doesn't need to come through a formal mentor who is very, who is much more qualified than you. So my first mentor were, of course, my parents. And my mother, God bless her soul, always believed and told me that you will win a Nobel Prize. And it's a very elusive target. But for a mother to constantly say that to you is something that affects your personality, affects your confidence, your capability, and so on and so forth. So I think parents play such an important role, and that's why even now in this innovation mission that we talk about, we get parents to come and see the innovation capability of their children in the tinkering marathons. Because unless they change their thinking about their own children, they're not going to encourage them to realize their full potential. The second thing is, I've been very fortunate in the course of my career, in the course of my school, to have some great mentors. I worked with Dr. Kohli, with Mr. Ramdurai, and all of these people who constantly encourage me, and like he said, to to raise the bar all the time. Not to say that you're just doing a good job. How do you raise the bar? How do you go beyond what you can do? How can you realize your true potential? And in all of this, I just want to sum it up in the word dream. We all want to realize a dream. So if you can find somebody, and you do find somebody, the D stands for dare to dream, dream to dare. How do you have somebody who dares you to dream and dreams you to dare? The second is, how does somebody make you realize your full potential? The third is, how does somebody fill you with enthusiasm and entrepreneurship thinking in your ability to transform the world? The fourth is, how do you pursue it, and how does somebody goad you into action with discipline that is required in order to achieve all of this? And finally, making the impossible meet or making miracles happen. That is something that you should believe in, that you can be the architect of a miracle. If you have all of this being fed into you at different stages by different people, no matter whom. Sometimes I get some real insight from my driver who is driving my car. And I get the insight, and he says, so this is what is happening in my life, and I learn something from that. So I think if you're open to listening and learning all the time, you do realize what you want to achieve.
Great.
Let's give a big round of applause to Mr. Ramanan. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Uh-huh. Well, thank you. Thank you, Ramanan. Well, let me build on what Murthy said and Ramanan said. So I would break it up into three parts. First, for you to be confident in any situation and not be stressed out, the stress comes because there is a disconnect between who you are and what you would like to be or what you think you are. So the more comfortable you are with yourself, that's the self-realization. As long, the less the disconnect between who you are and who you think you are, I think the less stress there is. So how do you get there? You get there by by venturing out into uncomfortable situations, right? I mean, sometimes you're asked to speak in a public or go introduce yourself to Narayan Murthy or something like that. It's stressful, right? But every stressful situation that you go through, it broadens your comfort zone. So you feel more and more and more comfortable. And the concept of ecosystem, incubation centers, tinkering lab, all these things is to create opportunities for people to experiment and be a little bit more comfortable in accepting failure. Because the reason why you won't venture out and do something is because you're very concerned that you may do something wrong, right? So the more adventurous you are, the more you participate in activities, in some ways, like Murthy said, undirected activities where there isn't somebody like orchestrating every second of your life, the more you broaden your comfort zone. Now, what's the value of that being in a broader comfort zone? You're more confident, but also you're more creative. If I'm sitting here and if I'm all stressed out about what am I going to say next, every time Shraddha asks me a question, I always have to say, what am I going to say? What am I going to say that will impress people or something? I'm at least in this audience now. I don't know why you guys make me so comfortable, but I'm very comfortable, right? So I can sort of say, okay, what can I say that can be useful to people? So I think if you're more comfortable with yourself and in situations, you can add a lot more value because you can be creative. You can say, okay, if I'm going to spend another 5 minutes, what can I do that can add value to the discussion that we're having, right? So, and that's how you want to do, even in your companies, in your startups, everything else. If you have a meeting, constantly you don't have to be trying to impress the other person. There is a value to be added. I mean, a meeting has a purpose. And so the making people comfortable, I think, makes people a lot more productive, a lot more creative, and it brings a lot more joy in your life.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Mr. Deshpande, I'll tell you very quickly that what you said makes so much sense. Today I took this flight, Star Air, from Bangalore. I didn't even know there is an airline called Star Air Airline, and it was a very small flight, and I have flight phobia. And I thought that, and I wanted to cancel and not come in the morning, but I did take the flight, and it was shaking quite a bit. But I landed, and I felt very comfortable. And so I'm going to practice a lot more of this. So thank you. It makes so much sense what you're talking about. Thank you so much. With that, let's make it open. If you have questions, we have legends sitting with us. So let's ask them questions. But please keep it short so we can give it to, yes, please.
I have only one request. It has to be alternately a woman and a man, starting with a woman.
Starting with a woman, of course. Let's get the mic to the women. Yes. Or you can come here.
Take this mic. Take this mic also.
But I think if she's already called me, let me take the opportunity to step on the stage. Thank you so much. So I'm making myself comfortable.
Yeah, you know what? You can come sit here.
I would love to do that. All right. Can I ask someone to take a picture? Me sitting here, right? Thank you so much. I am so comfortable. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Myself, Sridevi Rugi, and the question for the previous panel and today to this panel is the why factor. Most of us, as we grow, we stop asking why. Can you share some thoughts around the mindset, what you spoke about, and how the why impacts? Because a lot of people stop asking questions. There are days where I was a dwarf to call myself. There were days where in the basketball, when I went to get selected, my PE teacher said, no, you can't. I asked her why. She said, you're short. So something related to that and mindset, so that, you know, we kind of encourage our folks to talk, especially the millennials, to keep asking this question, why? I am a little nervous.
No, you're very kind. Well, whenever, as Desh said, whenever you are confronted with a situation where you feel you are not up to the task, first of all, I am uncomfortable. Second, even though I have put my best foot forward, if the environment or the people around me, the context, if they were to discourage me or snub me or use not so courteous words, that feedback has a tremendous impact on how I will behave in the future. Therefore, environment is very, very important. As long as we create an environment where failure is all right, as long as you learn something from it and you don't repeat the same thing again, as long as our society starts creating a climate of opinion that failure is not the end of life, I think you will see the confidence of our youngsters coming up. That's one. Second, before taking up a task, it is very, very important for our entrepreneurs to fully understand what they are getting into. As I said, it was day before yesterday, you have to first find out whether there is a market for your idea. You have to do some inexpensive test marketing exercise. Then you have to get into the details of finance. What is the level, what is the scale at which you will become profitable, what is the relationship between volume and profit, etc., etc. The point I'm making is this, that is, you have to spend a little bit time in being prepared for that journey. You can't simply go into that journey being well prepared in one dimension, maybe your technology idea, and not knowing anything else. At least you have to bring complementary strengths in terms of people who understand sales, people who understand finance, etc., etc. In other words, you are moving from the era of being reckless to being bold, as I pointed out earlier. That is the crucial difference. Most often, I run a venture capital company and we receive so many proposals from youngsters. But most of them are very good in one idea, in their technology idea, but they have not thought at all about whether there is a market, what is the disposable income of the context, how much of that disposable income they are willing to spend on this idea. Then, as you keep scaling up, you will see new items of cost coming up. And people don't realize, and they say, no, this is profitable. Then when we sit down with them and take them through the scenario of $10 million, $100 million, $500 million, and then tell them, look, these are the kinds of new costs that will become payable once you get to that level. So in other words, we have to move from being highly enthusiastic but somewhat reckless people in pursuit of an idea to being well prepared, bold people. As Louis Pasteur once said, chance favors the prepared mind. Therefore, I would say these are the two most important things.
Thank you so much. Truly appreciate. One question to you, sir. I was. I don't know about the people around. I don't want to be like the taking away Shraddha's task for today. One last question to you, sir. How is it?
As long as you don't ask Shraddha to vacate, because he is the one who is moderating.
Certainly not. Certainly not. That's not the intent at all. So we've opened, right? So I'm 1 foot in Bangalore, 1 foot in Hubli. Why I say so is my best of studies. I've been brought up, grown here, while my corporate exposure in HR recruitment has been in most of the MNCs, right? My boss is from Infosys. So how does it look like when we open such forums for entrepreneurs? I'm glad to see a number of people participating. Do we be willing to call out the domains where we want to say the tier 2 cities to go up there? Vis-a-vis just calling up the ideas as a big pitch?
Well, I think what's the strength of this incubator is the customer access that we have. So this incubator is being positioned as an incubator for the 1.1 billion people. So of the 1.3 billion, 200 mil live in big cities, and the incubators there are well suited to serve that population. But if you're really interested in, so 2 types of entrepreneurs make sense to be incubated here. One is people who are starting off with solutions for the 1.1 billion, semi-urban, rural. Typically, they tend to be lower cost, simpler, more affordable, something they can consume and so on. So that makes sense. The other type of entrepreneurs that make sense to be incubated here are people who have cracked the market for bigger cities, and now they're looking to semi-urban and rural for expansion. So they can come here. So those are the 2. But I think the customer base has to be the ideal thing. So it doesn't make any sense for somebody to be incubated here whose primary market is either Bangalore or somewhere else.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Thanks, Shraddha.
Thank you.
No, you can sit here. Come. Come. Anyone else? No, now we have to have a gender thing, no? So now we'll give it to this guy. Though we don't want to, but we will give it to him. We'll come to you. Come, yeah.
Hello, sir. Sir, may I, sir?
Hey, you can sit here. So we have room for only one more question.
Sir, my name is Chidanand Jartargar. I'm from Hubli itself. Sir, I need to ask you that we have a recyclable plastic manufacturing industry. Just a year back, we have started it. Sir, I need to ask that at present we have more women and men working with us, and I'm planning to do it the automation part. Like it is being done manually. So most part of it is being done manually. So I want to do it all automation. So, but I have some kind of a feeling or pain in the mind that instead of doing it by all machines automatically, so I can employ more number of people. So how to balance that, sir?
So the way you should think about this is that, plastic recycling is a very big problem. So what you're doing right now is probably 0.0001% of the plastic that needs to be recycled, right? So if there is a way you can get a more efficient business model, why do you want to automate? You want to automate because you can make things a little cheaper, you can make it safer for the people and so on. So if you really get a business model that works, and then you scale it to actually go from 0.0001 to 0.1 to 1 to 10% to 20%, you'll be hiring millions of people. So, this was a big concern, let's say in US, in probably 80s, when people started bringing ATM machines, automation in banks and everything else. Everybody was really scared. What will all these bankers do if all this automation happened? But what it does is of the 7 billion people, there is still a lot of people who don't have the services that we need to provide. The environment needs a lot more better solutions, right? And so So I think what you want to do is to focus on solving the big problem, and in the process, you'll create a lot of high-paying jobs for a lot of people.
Sir, to Narayan sir, sir, I want to ask that I have a very soft feeling like whether to employ manpower or automation, any work. Like instead of just giving it to machines, so that we can employ a lot of people and we have that satisfaction. So I am worried about, I'm concerned about that, sir.
No, I personally feel that any company whose objective is primarily to increase employment is going to fail. I think, as Desh pointed out, your first objective will have to be how can I provide the best quality product at the lowest price for maximum number of people. That is, do more with less for more. I think if you wrote that down, do more for less with more, do more with less for more people, then automatically you will recruit more and more people because you will start expanding. Number two, there are a lot of areas human touch is extremely important, where unfortunately human beings will not be in position to ensure quality. For example, there are activities where by about 5 p.m., human beings start committing more mistakes. We have made such studies and we have come to the conclusion that certain activities are best done by automation if you truly want to deliver high quality solutions to your customers. So, therefore, don't start with your objective being I will provide maximum employment within a certain revenue. That will not well. You say that I will increase my revenue, I will make more profits. I mean, obviously, legally and ethically and all of that. But in the process, that will lead to more high quality employment, better salaries for people, more number of people used in areas where human touch is important. It is what is called assistive automation. Therefore, please think of assistive automation first, and you will automatically become, be succeeding even better than you have.
In
Thank
some
you very much,
ways,
sir.
about, but it does cause disruption. So people have to be retrained and societies have to get reorganized. For example, 150 years ago, 99% of the population grew food. They were all farmers. And then, it's come down quite a bit in India, but if you look at developed countries, it's down to 2%. So 150 years ago, if you had said, 2% of the people are enough to grow food, and then people would say, what would the other 98% do? They would not have imagined that so many people would be sitting around here talking about entrepreneurship. That would not have made sense 150 years ago, right? So the human mind is very creative, and we have a lot of very important problems to solve. So I think we have to constantly regroup and group and make sure that we keep it a nice and safe world. Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Let me just add a little bit and give you one example where most of the youngsters will appreciate it. In 1970s, the software researchers came out with a tool called case tools and program generators. The topic at that time was that there'll be no opportunities anymore for programmers, for designers, and all of that. But we all forgot one important thing, and that is the power of human mind. The day case tools and the program generators were available, human beings said, now we are going to tackle more complex problems, more difficult problems. Therefore, people said, if we want to tackle more difficult problems, then we need distributed databases, we need concurrent programming, we need this, we need that, we need event-driven algorithms, we need randomized algorithms, we need genetic algorithms. In other words, the point I'm saying is, between 1970 and today, the employment in the software industry has probably, throughout the world, not just India, has probably gone up by 100 or something like that. So therefore, it is very, very important for every one of us to remember that God is not finished with us. As long as innovation is alive and kicking, as long as we create an environment where our people can unlearn and learn new things, as long as our universities, many times when I give talks in the US universities, they ask me, what will happen? Will universities, will they become less useful as we move forward? I tell them no. As long as the innovation, invention, research, they are all alive and kicking in the US. US will continue to be the leader in the world. So therefore, I think we do not need to worry too much about technology. The same time, please use it in thinking of how you can scale up your operations. Second, how you can improve your quality. And third, how you can bring more and more human touch to your operations.
Last question. You can sit here.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So nice feeling sitting here. Beautiful. I introduce myself. I'll take very less time, organizers. I'm Radhika. And this question, what I'm asking is from a point of view of an entrepreneur and also a teacher. I'm a teacher in an MBA institute. And daily I meet and make an impact on around 180 students. And I have a passion of cooking, which I have turned into a startup. So evening, I'm an entrepreneur. So when it comes to entrepreneurship to my students, I always prefer them to be entrepreneurs than joining in a company when campus recruitments happen. I'm happy for them when company comes, they're selected. Previously, I have worked in institutes where we had Infosys, HR, TCS, and all coming up. Very nice to see them being recruited. But somewhere, I always want them to be entrepreneurs. And especially because I come from a tier 2 city, Belgium, and most of the rural candidates are into our institutions. And they all have agricultural lands. They have their own occupation at back home. But they want to go to city and work. Or even when it comes to entrepreneurship, it is more of technical in nature. So I always tell them, go back to your agriculture fields. There is so much to do in this sector. You can bring a lot of transformation in this. So somewhere I feel I'm not able to touch them at that level. If you people can really give a message to them at this platform, be there, be in your city, go back to your lands, equip with all the technical skill, be MBA graduates, but stay there. You can make a difference in everybody's life. So please.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have any farmers here. But let me tell you, I think the role of the educator should be to make people entrepreneurial, not necessarily entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have to be self-driven. They would want to do it. You never want an entrepreneur who's doing something because you asked him to do it, right? Because that will absolutely fail. So what can we do to nurture that? You have to create role models. You have to create opportunities. For example, when I was starting my first company in Boston, the only companies that existed in Boston were Digital Equipment Corporation, Prime, Wang, maybe about 6 or 7 entrepreneurs. That's about it, right? But somehow I managed to get into the game and start one. Now, fast forward. Now, the only thing people talk about is entrepreneurship, right? There are thousands of people. That's become, entrepreneurship has become a career now, as opposed to a one-time deal that it was in 1980s. So when it becomes an ecosystem and a career, then there's a lot of safety net for the entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs, typically it may take 4-5 years to see whether it plays out or not. But if you're not successful in the first entrepreneurial opportunity, in the second one, you're more likely to succeed. If not second, you're more likely to succeed the third one, or the fourth one, or the fifth one. So it just becomes a career path. So I think slowly what we're doing here is creating that. So we need to create a lot of these. For example, we do these farm ponds and everything else. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs. Yeah, you don't know if you saw some of the entrepreneurs on the stage last night. So when these guys start something and suddenly instead of talking about 30,000, 40,000, suddenly start talking about 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, that becomes a role model for other people. And then other people start doing it. So, and also as the entrepreneurial opportunity picks up, every entrepreneur needs a lot of other entrepreneurial people to work with them. So your job should be to make everybody entrepreneurial. Thank you.
I'm very fortunate enough to be here in this profession of teaching.
Just jinx of HR, because I breathe HR, right? We, as we heard rightly, make them entrepreneurial. We can't mandate anybody to go back to their cities, right? So it's important to let them get exposed. Probably their aspirations is to work for a corporate, but they get to know their risk-taking ability. Because as soon as they're MBAs and they're starting something on their own, their risk-taking ability, we're not so sure how to measure it. Because you're getting exposed in a tier one, metro, non-metro, is not the debate here, guys, no offense. But it's just that you get exposed. In fact, yesterday I was in BVB, I was talking to the management, and all I heard is students of BVB engineering grads want to go to Bangalore, come what may. They just want to grab the opportunity, not willing to go to any other locations, because we know there is a lot of locations like Trivandrum building their incubation center for a lot of technology, now Hubli obviously, right? So allow them to unleash what they want to be, and that will take time depending on the human being and their upbringing. Thank you.
Sir,
Well, I think I agree with what Desh said, and that is what is more important than becoming entrepreneurs is to create the entrepreneurial mindset. What is entrepreneurial mindset? It is daring, curiosity, hard work, a leadership, good values, etc., etc. In fact, late Robert Kennedy, he once borrowed the words of George Bernard Shaw, and he said, "Most people see things as they are and wonder why. I dream of things that never were and then say, why not?" Wow. That, in essence, is what entrepreneurship is. But let me tell you a story of how entrepreneurial spirit can be exhibited by every employee, even in a large corporation. The reason why large corporations fail to utilize it is because of poor leadership. In 1991, we assembled the entire 150 people that existed at Infosys. We were a very small company at that time. And we wanted to have a discussion on how the entire company could become innovative. So we arranged a meeting. It was a 4-hour meeting where simultaneously it was, every talk was translated from English to Hindi to Kannada to Tamil, because these were the 4 languages that were being spoken. Now, next morning, one of the janitors who was cleaning 8 conference rooms. He came to me and he asked me in Kannada, look, I believe yesterday, you had a conference on innovation. I don't know what that is. I couldn't come to the office yesterday. I said, sit down, I will explain to you. I said, look, you are in charge of keeping 8 conference rooms clean. And most of 98% of your customers are from the West. Now, when they come, the pride that you exhibit is in the fact that these conference rooms are absolutely clean. So I said, every day when you come to the office, ask 3 questions. First, whatever I am doing, can I do this faster tomorrow compared to what I am doing today? I said, all that you need to do, today you may be using one hand to clean it, tomorrow try and think of using both hands. Thereby you become more productive. You clean the conference rooms faster. The second question that you have to ask, all of us have to ask to instill a sense of innovation in us is, how can I make whatever I am doing today cheaper tomorrow? I said, look, go to the market, find out if there is any cheaper cleaning liquid which is as good in cleaning as what you use today. So thereby you have made your cleaning task cheaper. Third, I said, every morning when you come to the office, simply ask the following question. How can I make the quality of what I am doing better tomorrow compared to today? I said, that's very simple. Look at the table. Today there may be 7 specks of dust. Take a decision that tomorrow you will take care to make sure that there is not more than 5. And if you kept doing this for 3 or 4 days and continue that mindset, then your tables, your glasses, everything will be the cleanest. Therefore, every one of you, please ask just 3 questions. Whatever I am doing, whether I am a janitor or the chairman of the company or whatever I have to ask, can I do whatever I am doing today faster tomorrow? In the process, you may invent new things. You may eliminate some sub-processes, whatever. Second, whatever I am doing today, can I do it cheaper? Third, whatever I am doing today, can I do it with a higher level of quality? That's all what we need. These are the 3 questions you have to remember. I will have to leave because I'm already late.
No, we can go on and on and on, and sir, we would like you to go on and on and on, and both of you, but we can't. We are coming to an end, and let's give a big round of applause. और मुझे लगता है कि खड़े होके we can give a standing ovation if it doesn't. It's good exercise also, and thank you so much. Thanks a lot for this wonderful session.
Thank you again. I now request Dr. Ravi, founder of ShopGrow, to kindly give a token of appreciation to Dr. Deshpande. The applause must continue. Also request Dr. Kiran, founder of Lifetrons, to give a token of appreciation to Murthy sir. I request Ms. Neetu Shah, founder of Link Easy, to kindly come over and give the token of appreciation to Shraddha. I'm sure there are a lot of questions, but we can take them probably during lunch. Let's give them a big round of applause.